Good morning, Uptown Kids, and welcome to church this morning. We are so glad that you decided to join us today. Now, do you guys have some type of gifts in which God has blessed you with? It's a good question, isn't it? Well, maybe perhaps God has given you the gift of a musical talent, like singing or playing an instrument. Some of you may have been given an athletic skill, which makes you very good in playing a sport. Maybe you have intellectual gifts, which enable you to be very good in school. No matter what gift God has given you, I know that He's given each and every single one of you some type of gift. When God has given a gift, He expects something in return. But what does He expect? He expects you to take that gift and use it for His glory and improve upon the gift which He has given you. Now, God would be probably very disappointed if you had just sat back and done nothing with what He's given you, right? I would think so. But in fact, that is what our Bible story is about today, about someone who didn't and someone who did. But before we do, let's head on over to Talia to praise and worship this morning today.
Good morning, Uptown Kids. I'm so excited for another week with you of learning and playing and worshiping. We're going to jump right in this morning, and we are going to start with This Little Light of Mine, which is our theme song. You know it, your parents know it, y'all know it, so let's sing it together. Ready? All right. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All right, all around the neighborhood. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All right, Uptown Kids, do we hide it under a bushel? All right. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All right, Uptown Kids, I'll see you at the end of the service for another song.
Good morning, kiddos. Welcome back to Reading Time with me. I'm so excited to share this story with you today. It's called 8 Bags of Gold. So let's sit back, relax, get comfortable, and let's get reading.
8 Bags of Gold, the Parable of the Talents. Once there was a master well known throughout the land.
He had 100 servants who were under his command. His house had many, many rooms, and no one could deny that he was rich, and there was not a thing he couldn't buy. One day the wealthy master had important news to tell, and so he called 3 servants with a shiny silver bell. The servants started running when they heard the master's call. Until they reached the master's room, they didn't stop at all. They found the master waiting, and they noticed at his side a massive heap of precious gold tied up in bags of hide. Ahem! The master cleared his throat. I've called you here today to tell you that I am about to travel far away. The trip will be a long one, so I think it's plain to see that someone surely has to keep these bags of gold for me. I've thought and thought for many days, and now I've hit upon the answer to my problem. You will keep them while I'm gone. He pointed to the servant who was standing first in line. Come here, he said, and you shall have your share of what is mine. I give you these 5 bags of gold to do with as you choose. So then, till I return again, these coins are yours to use. Then to the second man he gave 2 bags of gold and said, To make good use of all this wealth, you'll have to use your head. The servant who was last in line approached the master's chair. "There's one bag left," the master said, "and that will be your share. Now go, but don't forget when I return I'll want to see what faithful stewards you have been in using it for me." The servants made a bow so low their foreheads touched the floor, and then they gathered up their gold and headed for the door. The man who had 5 bags of gold went out with troubled thought, and in his mind he counted up the things that could be bought. "It's such a task, I must not fail," the puzzled servant sighed. But then a plan popped into mind. "That's what I'll do," he cried. "I'll buy a store, a great big store. I'll sell so many things, like pots and pans and shoes and coats and silk and diamond rings, bronze camel bells and Persian rugs and candlesticks and tea. The biggest store in all the land, that's what my store will be." He bought a store and people came from places all around. They came from almost every place where people could be found to buy the things they needed in the store that was so grand, for it was soon the superstore, the biggest in the land. And on the other side of town, where shoreline meets the sea, the man who had 2 bags of gold was happy as could be. For many years a servant had possessed a secret wish, to be the owner of a shop for thriving trade in fish. And so a marketplace for fish was just the thing he bought, and fishermen came in to sell him all the fish they caught. Then he in turn sold all the fish to people of the land, and so his business day by day went on as he had planned. For though he never had a crowd around his little shed, his marketplace did pretty well, it truly must be said. He didn't make a fortune in his work of selling fish, but still his marketplace fulfilled his every dream and wish. Now, ever since his master had departed on his way, the man who had 1 bag of gold had worried night and day. "Oh dear," he cried, "the gold I have is such a small amount. The coins my master gave to me take little time to count. If I should use it, I might lose it. That would be the end. I think he trusted it to me to hide, but not to spend." And so that night he took his gold and, quiet as a mouse, he headed through the darkness to an old abandoned house. Beneath the cellar floor he hid the bag of gold secure. "No one will ever find it here, of that I can be sure." Then up the stairs and through the door into that night he ran. "That spooky house," he panted, "would sure scare the bravest men." The master then returned to town and called his servants 3. "What have you done while I was gone? I cannot wait to see." The man who had received 5 bags with pride stepped up and said, "I bought a store, and now I have 10 bags of gold instead." Then said the man who owned the shop down by the ocean's shore, "You gave 2 bags of gold to me, and I have gained 2 more." "How wonderful," the master said, "and I am pleased to tell that you shall have more gold because you did so well." The man who had 1 bag of gold came forward then and told how he, to keep his treasure safe, had hidden all his gold. "Beneath the ground I buried it and left it till today, and here it is, the same amount as when you went away." "You foolish servant," cried his lord, as angry as could be. "That you weren't brave with what you had does not go well with me. I wanted you to use it, not hide it in a hole. To do the best with what you had, that should have been your goal." The sad but wiser servant knew he'd made a great mistake. The master's gold was given with a task to undertake. His job was not to hide the gift, but use as best he could. And if he failed, his master would no doubt have understood. The end.
Everyone, I'm Patricia and I'll be leading today's craft. In honor of Thanksgiving, I thought we would do something Thanksgiving related. And when I think of Thanksgiving, I think of turkeys. So I thought, let's make some turkeys today. This is a thankful turkey where on the feathers you write what you're thankful for. So let's jump right in and make one.
All right, so what we need now are our scissors, some markers or a Sharpie, some glue, and our craft kit. Now we will start gluing the parts of the turkey together. So let's first glue the eyes down, because we know turkeys need to see. Next we will glue the beak, and the wattle and the turkey caruncle. And don't forget to glue the legs. Next, you want to arrange the feathers of the turkey in alternating colors, and you can do this however you like. Now that I'm happy with the arrangement of my feathers, I will glue the turkey body to all of the feathers. And as I start gluing the body onto the feathers, I'll think about the things that I'm thankful for. So I'm thankful for God, for my mom, my dad, my dog, my home. I'm thankful for food, and I'm thankful for sunshine. What are you thankful for? Well, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
All right, Uptown Kids. In the story that we had just heard this morning, it tells us that God expects us to make use of what He has given us in life. He has given each of us different gifts. Some people can do things well with their hands, some people with their heads, and some with their voices. Some can see things that others don't. Each of us is responsible to God for using the gifts that He has from Him and for using them well. In this parable, Jesus gives encouragement to those who have gifts which seem small and few in comparison with the gifts who have a lot. The master evidently had expected something even from the man with only one bag of gold. He was deeply disappointed that the servant hadn't even tried. So what are some ways that we can use our gifts this week? That's something to ask yourself today, and then you can write it down, get your mom and dad to write it down, and then do that this week, okay? I'll write down mine, and you write down yours, okay? All right, let's head on over for one last song today, and then we'll wrap up, okay?
All right, Uptown Kids, welcome back. We're gonna do a song that we did a couple weeks ago. My friend Samantha is gonna sing for us, and I'm gonna do some actions. It's called One Way. We did it once. There's a lot of actions, like I said before, so just try to follow along. If you can't get them, don't worry about it. We're gonna do it again, so don't stress, but do as much as you can with me. All right. Lay my life down at your feet. You're the only one I need. I turn to you and you are always there. In troubled times, it's you I seek. I put you first, that's all I need. I humble all I am, all to you. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. You are always, always there, every how and everywhere. Your grace abounds so deeply within me. All right. You will never ever change. Yesterday, today the same. Forever till forever meets no end. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. You are the way, the truth, and the life. We live by faith and not by sight. For you, we're living all for you. You are the way, the truth, and the life. We live by faith and not by sight. For you, We're living all for you. You are the way, the truth, and the life. We live by faith and not by sight. For you, we're living all for you. You are the way, the truth, and the life. We live by faith and not by sight. For you, we're living all for you. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. Awesome job, Uptown Kids. I'll see you next week for some more worship. Bye.
All right, Uptown Kids. Well, that is it for today. But before we head out, I was just thinking about a Bible verse. It's a Bible passage from 1 Corinthians. It talks about the church being the body of Christ, that we're all needed. And, you know, I'm reminded as we're talking about gifts, that we all have different gifts. And some of them are small, some of them are big. Some of them, again, have to do with our hands or our heads or anything like that. And I'm reminded of how important each and every single one of us are. So I'm going to read this passage before heading out, okay? It comes from 1 Corinthians 12. It starts at verse 12, okay? It says, the human body has many parts, but the many parts make up one whole body. So it is with the body of Christ. Some of us are Jews, some of us are Gentiles, some are slave and some are free, but we have been baptized into one body by one Spirit, and we all share the same Spirit. Yes, the body has many different parts, not just one part. If the foot says, I am not a part of the body because I am not a hand, that does not make it any less part of a body. But if the ear says, I am not a part of the body because I am not an eye, would that make it any less part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, how would you hear? Or if the whole body were an ear, how would you smell anything? But our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where he wants it. How strange a body would be if it only had one part. Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, some parts of the body that seem weakest and least important, actually the most necessary. And the parts we regard as less honorable are those we clothe with the greatest care. So we carefully protect those parts that should not be seen, while the more honorable parts do not require this special care. So God has put the body together such that extra honor and care are given to those parts that have less dignity. This makes for harmony among the members, so that all the members care for each other. If one part suffers, all the parts suffer with it. And if one part is honored, all the parts are glad. All of you together are Christ's body, and each of you is a part of it. That is a great reminder for this week, okay, guys? So let's remind ourselves of that, and also write down something that you're good at and do it this week, okay, for Jesus. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. Bye.